What I thought was really interesting as well, when I looked at the stats, 46% possession we had. 46, that's the lowest we've had. But what it shows us is that, it's all right having 80%, but we had 46% possession, but when the game 2-1, we had 11 shots in total, of which 7 were on target.
Yeah. Much better stats, isn't it?
Those stats are better than 80% possession with 3 shots and 1 on target.
Yeah. That to me just shows we get stuck in a side-to-side cycle, doesn't it? That's why your possession stats are so high.
Yeah, exactly. So it just shows you that we can be effective with less possession.
Welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And on Sunday afternoon, Birmingham City beat Blackpool 2-1 to progress us into the third round of the FA Cup. And in the pre-video to this, me and Dad said that Chris Davies was possibly going to play some of the fringe players, give some chance for the players to put some minutes in the legs. And we did see that. We saw basically a second-string Birmingham City team with a new setup and some players trying out some new positions. So it was an interesting game to watch. And ultimately, we got ourselves through to the third round. Dad, Birmingham City 2, Blackpool 1. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, like you said, we got the job done. We got into the third round, and I think it just shows you that this is the issue we have with being in League One, is that we normally just enter at round 3, so we've had to have the 2 previous games, and this was the second of them to get to this stage. But yeah, I'm glad we won. Excited about who we might potentially draw now. It's always got third round draws the best, isn't it? Everybody loves the third round draw, particularly if you're in it. It's really exciting. But you mentioned all the changes. I'm literally going to go through the team just so that viewers can see who started the game for Birmingham City. So there's 10 changes from the Exeter game. Now, we in the preview video said there'd be lots of changes. And actually, there's a lot of players in this team that we picked to start. So some surprises. So in goal, we had Bailey, Peacock, Farrell. Then we had going through the defence, we had Sanderson came back in at centre half, and there was a lot of talk about whether or not he would actually be in the team. He started. Beilek was the only survivor from the Exeter game. He was the captain. He was at centre half. Ethan Laird was in the team. Taylor Gardner-Hickman. So they made up our back line. Then we had Mark Leonard, who again we predicted would start in midfield with Brandon Keeler, which for me was a surprise for starting. I expected to see him on the bench, but every time I see him, I really like him. Brandon Keeler. He's a good young player, and I'm really glad that he got the start and did well actually until he was substituted. We had Luke Harris, Yokoyama started, and we had Lyndon, Dykes, and Yuki as our starting two. Which again, Yuki took me by surprise as a start. I expected to see him on the bench, but
he was fantastic as well.
Yeah,
and he was my favourite player, Yuki. I loved it when he scored. He went right up to the Blues fans.
Yeah, saw that.
The passion in Yuki is just brilliant, isn't it? And, just to put some positions to your names there, I thought Laird at left back was quite interesting. He put Luke Harris in right mid and Yokoyama on left, and then Yuki and Dykes were up front. Because if you looked at the Sky app and various other apps, they said we set up in a 3-4-2-1, but when you actually watched us play, it was pretty much a 4-4-2. With Luke Harris on the wings with Yokoyama, Laird in the left back was the surprise, and then Yuki and Dykes up top, but it worked.
Yeah, it did. And what it tells me from the Exeter game and from this game, even though it was a completely changed team, it shows me in both those two games, I think Chris Davies has highlighted the issue we have with conceding goals, and he's trying to address it by his formation. I was also pleased to see Taylor Gardner-Hickman back in the team again, because I think he allowed Ethan Laird to take that more defensive position, because he would be the one that would be more progressive. But yeah, the setup was interesting. The team selection was interesting. It was interesting as well what Chris Davies said in his post-match. Just listen to that, actually, what Chris Davies said. And he said that, even though they were he didn't call them a second string, he whatever he called them, I can't remember, but he said they look like a Birmingham City team. He said even though they haven't all started games and whatever, he said they came in, he says, and they actually look like a proper Birmingham City team. So I think that gives the identity that he's looking for across all the players. So it was a very interesting team selection, and we had a strong bench.
I know. We say this a lot, don't we?
The bench was ridiculous. Let me just read out the bench. This is crazy. I mean, Ryan Allsop, Christoph Clara, Ben Davies, Paik, Awata, Keshi Anderson, Alfie May. Then we had two youngsters, Beteka and Pennington. I think it was probably just to give them a bit of first team experience, because they didn't get on. But it was a strong bench, and also there was a few players there. Like Stansfield wasn't even in the squad.
It shows how much he values Williamson and Stansfield. They weren't even in Blackpool. They just got given the day off. Yeah. So clearly he values them, and he wanted them to have that proper reset from the even being a part of the match day squad. So I quite like that. He's giving his key players a full on rest, and it worked, didn't it? As I say, it was a really solid performance. I mean, the first half, Dad, was complete control, and remember when we were at Rotherham away, Dad, and we came away from that and we said, although we won 2-0, it was the way we won. It was completely comfortable and in control. That first half was arguably the most dominant first half I've seen since Rotherham. Just never in doubt. And we came out aggressive. We came out quick. What I thought was different this time around, we were even more direct. When we got the ball forward, we looked really, really good, and we opened them up early. We scored from a set piece. At last, 2 set pieces.
2 set pieces. Both of our goals were set pieces.
Yeah, but the first one especially.
Really
the Blackpool players were fuming because they thought it went out. When the cross came in, I can't remember who cut it back. It might have been Luke Harris, but someone cut it back for Dykes, and they thought that ball had gone out. Actually, if you watch the replay back, it doesn't look like it went out to me. But and then Dykes, lovely finish.
Yeah.
Really nice finish. I'm so glad that Dykes got on the score sheet because his first goal was at the Fulham under-21s, but this matters in the FA Cup. So I was really glad to see that.
I think it does, and the whole thing shows that we can. We haven't. We've got such a strong squad that we know that we've got an important game against Stockport coming up. But to play a team like that is effectively our second string, and to win the game away from home, don't forget, against a decent. I know they've had their ups and downs, and they're not in the best form at the moment, but they're a decent League One team, and to come away with 2-1 and to get us into the third round is absolutely brilliant. But like you said, we got early goals, we dominated, and we did concede a goal. I think I predicted the score as 2-1 because I always feel that even when we do dominate games, we sometimes shoot ourselves in the foot a bit by not killing teams off and not putting our chances away and just getting a little bit more clearer. But ultimately, when that final whistle's gone and we've won 2-1, you can reflect on whatever you like. We're in the hat, and that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, it was a very controlled performance for me. We had a little bit of start to the second half, was a bit slow. Blackpool started to create some chances. Of course, they got that.
Well, he made 4 subs at half time, including Jordan Rhodes, who's an experienced player. We've been caught out having him met by experienced players before. We looked at, there's always these teams, particularly League One teams, that have got these what you would classify as really good players, but coming towards the end of their career. I think of Matty Godden against Charlton. Yeah. We had who's that guy who plays for Mansfield who scored their goal from the free kick?
I know exactly who you mean, but yeah.
Oh my word!
Isn't he like 36 or something?
But
very experienced.
He's Lee Gregory, is it?
That's it.
Yeah, he experienced players like that, and then obviously Jordan Rhodes is another in that category. So even though what people might think these players are coming to the end of their career, they've still got that quality and class about them, and they can produce moments of magic. And the Jordan Rhodes goal was a good finish as well. So that brought them back. And of course, when they get their goal back, which is fairly early in the second half, it puts that doubt in your mind again. We need another goal now. We never got it. So we're always, even though we do well in games, we seem to be hanging on and not just pushing teams away.
Even though they got that goal, apart from the first 15 minutes of that second half, we then got back into control, and we did have a couple of chances that we didn't finish again. Alfie May towards the end of the game, Paik from a corner went over, should have scored. So we had chances to put them away again, and I'm not going to bang this drum too much because we've said it a lot on this podcast. We just need to start putting teams away. These chances go in. We win these games 4-5-1.
Yeah.
It's that thing. It's fine margins, isn't it? So we come away with a 2-1 win. Definitely not complaining. But also as well, in the first half, Dad, we had all this domination, complete control, and 30 minutes they just played a ball through the middle. A big gap opened up between Beilek and Sanderson, and they were almost through on goal. And it just sparked that thing. If we don't stay switched on, teams will punish you. So again, I'm not jumping on a bandwagon here of the Sanderson thing or anything like that defensively. No panic buttons. I'm just making an observation that when you do have lapses in concentration, teams can open the gate against you. And Blackpool nearly went in. Sanderson got a yellow card, to be fair, because he kind of cut the bloke's run off. But the gap between them were way too big. Anyway, so that was just a point of saying, even though we dominated, actually, we still need to stay very, very focused in games because they possibly could have got through there and caused us a problem. But apart from that, first half was completely dominant. And in the second half, apart from, in my opinion, that first sort of 15-ish minutes when the subs made their impact, again, once we got a foothold in the game, I think we pretty much controlled it.
Yeah, I think so as well. Just to go through the goals, it was a Leonard corner. And like you say, Matt, the important thing is 2 set pieces. And we know that we've been really poor at our set pieces this season so far. And we've been conceding goals from set pieces. So it's not a great area for us. But this shows you, and I think Chris Davies also in his post-match interview said that the Blues team had been working on this type of thing. And hopefully he said it's a sign of things to come. But Mark Leonard corner onto the near post, which was actually headed on by Sanderson, ran across the goal, and Keeler had a shot saved, and it came back to Keeler, and he laid it off nicely to Lyndon Dykes, who was in a really good position actually, and just slotted it just inside the right hand post. Really good
Lovely
finish.
goal.
Really pleased to see him score. Strikers need goals for confidence, and hopefully that will give him some. And I think overall, from his performance, it wasn't just the goal. Physically he was good. And I don't know why he's got a face mask. Do you know where he could pick that injury? I know he had it against Exeter as well.
It could have been at Shrewsbury, because I remember he was down at Shrewsbury for about 6 minutes ish. It seemed quite serious at the time. Then Lyndon Dykes being Lyndon Dykes, he kind of just got off and shrugged it off a little bit. But I think after the match there might have been like a fracture there or something. I don't know the details of it. He's got the mask on, but didn't stop him, did it? What a great goal.
Good finish, and it was great to see him. I mean, that's the one you were suggesting that the Blackpool players were saying had gone out.
They were going nuts. One player got booked for his dissent against the referee.
Who cares?
Yeah.
We've had, it swings and roundabouts all season. We've had chances like in the past where balls have gone out, what we think for throw-ins for us, and they haven't been given, and like corners and stuff like that. So every team gets it. I mean, the fact that it resulted in a goal was probably they felt that was why they needed to protest as much.
I genuinely believe over the course of a season, as many decisions go for you as they do against you. I think, relatively speaking,
should even
it levels itself out, relatively speaking. But yes, that was 1-0 to the Blues.
Yeah, and then we scored our second goal as well, also in the first half from a corner. Taylor Gardner-Hickman, he.
And what made me laugh, Dad, you immediately popped into my head, because how many times do we shout from the stands? Well, not shout, but we talk to each other and say, these short corners don't work. Just get it in the box. And as it was, we scored from one. It tickled me.
I don't mind that was a short corner, but I don't mind a short corner like that, because what I don't like is a short corner where the corner goes to a player that's one of our players within 10 yards. Then that player's got no option, so he's pinging it back and he goes back and he back and back. Before you know it, it's with our goalkeeper. But this was a sensible short corner, because we obviously Taylor Gardner-Hickman was in the space to be able to hit that ball. It was a good strike as well, actually. Goalkeeper saved it and parried it straight into Yuki. And again, that shows Yuki and his experience. He's just in the right place at the right time.
Bread and butter for a striker, that, isn't it?
But you have to be in those positions to score those goals, don't you?
He was outstanding. And we'll come to the Blackpool goal in a minute, Dad, but just on Yuki, he was physical, he was dominant, he was putting himself about. Just classic Yuki performance, loved it. And for me, Yuki was my man of the match, and just behind him was Mark Leonard. I thought he had a really good game as well.
I think Yuki as well. I think he's making the most of every single second he's got on that pitch, because he knows that it's likely that this will be his last season.
Yeah, I think so.
We don't know, but it's likely, because he's not getting much game time anyway. So I think he's just enjoying it. He's just making the most, and you could see the way, like you said, he scored the goal straight over. It was almost like slalom past the Blues teams. We were going to congratulate him to get to the Blues fans, and he just tapped the badge. And I love Yuki. And I'm so glad that he scored that goal. That made it 2-0.
Yeah.
That
Blackpool goal.
Then of course at half time, Steve Bruce makes 4 changes, and within 10 minutes they've got one back. And it was a poor goal. You can see their play. I don't know who it was, but he went round a couple of our players and laid it off. Jordan Rhodes then just switched his foot and just put it inside the right hand post. Yeah. I thought it was a poor goal. I thought that was a poor goal for us to concede.
When the person on the ball was carrying it forward, our defenders just looked like they were in no man's land, kind of surrounding him with no energy, no intensity.
It was weird. It's almost like they weren't watching him, but they weren't. It was a weird goal, and it was really poor. And it's at the time that you really don't want to concede a goal, because it's 10 minutes into the second half. We're only been in 2-1 now because they've scored a goal, and the pressure's on you for the rest of the game. But what did Chris Davies do? He immediately made 3 substitutions. Keshi Anderson, Paik, and Alfie May came on. Yeah. And I think Paik in particular, we tightened up that midfield, because I think if that was our first choice team with Paik and Awata, that goal ain't being scored. They would have snuffed that out, I think, because we would have swarmed them. But it happened.
But as you say, that Chris Davies had the maturity and realisation that he needed to make a change, because they were getting through a little bit easier than they should have been. So
it's just disappointing, Matt. I mean, we played so well in the first half, and then you know what? You're away from home. The Steve Bruce is a clever manager. He's tactically astute, and he'll know what to do, and he'll know and would have told me you've got to have a go, because otherwise we're going out the FA Cup. But regardless of what he did, I was disappointed of our reaction to that goal. But actually, after those substitutions that Chris Davies made, it sort of nullified the game. There were 1 or 2 little half chances here and there, but you do in football, don't you?
So do we. Yeah. So in fact, Alfie May and Paik both had chances. The 2 subs that came on should have scored. So. And if you listen to Bruce in his post-match interview, he said it himself. In the first half, especially, they didn't even lay a glove on us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think everyone watching that knew in the first half we were dominant, and then we had a sloppy little bit in the second half. But overall, again, I would say controlled. I think that's a relatively good word to use, a controlled performance.
Yeah, but I think the lesson there is what we've been talking about all season. We can do really, really well in patches of games and get ourselves in the lead, but we've got to be better than like conceding goals like that, because it just puts pressure on us. And we are prime example. I keep going back, and I hate thinking about it. It's a Northampton game.
Yeah, I know.
We were 1-0 up, and we were controlling that game, and we should have had more than one goal, and we left the door open and we conceded. It was a killer, wasn't it?
It was.
And this is another example where we let them back in again. We closed the door, then opened it again. We've got to stop that. But I do think I've been very encouraged by what I've seen defensively against Exeter and also against Blackpool, apart from that goal. So I'm thinking that Chris Davies has identified it as an area that we need to significantly improve on. And if that is the sign in terms of the Exeter game particularly, with our first choice team, I think that's going to help us improve to concede goals.
I think after watching today, though, Dad, it's hit home for me how much Clara and Ben Davies give us centre-half stability. Yeah. I think they are both absolutely outstanding. And Beilek didn't do anything massively wrong today. I mean, Sanderson didn't have a great game. He made a couple of little mistakes here and there. But to me, it just showed how solid Clara and Ben Davies are. I think they need to be our starting centre-halves moving forward. I don't quite know what you do with Beilek. Chris Davies mentioned about putting him right back. Some Blues fans have mentioned about when Iwata and Pate get tired, he could move into centre mid. I don't know what the plan would be for Beilek, but for me, starting Clara and Ben Davies moving forward, definitely.
Beilek's a versatile player. He's a bit like Taylor Gardner-Hickman. He can play multiple positions. So be interesting to see where he fits over the next weeks and months coming up. But I agree with you completely. I think most Blues fans do as well, that it has to be Christoph Clara and Ben Davies as the starting centre-halves.
And final thing for me, I thought Mark Leonard had a really good game. Again, every time he does get minutes, he just impresses us, doesn't he? Yeah. He really is a proper player, he is. And for me, hit home that message again, Dad. We're going to have a lot of fixture congestion coming up. Yeah. He has to start playing Mark Leonard to rotate between Pake and Iwata. I don't know how he does that, but we need fresh legs on the pitch. And I think when you look at Mansfield, Northampton, Charlton, I think someone like Mark Leonard could have been the difference. Shrewsbury, he could have been the difference in that centre mid those days. So it's just hitting home that point. I think he can add a lot more value. I thought Yokoyama started the game very slowly. Actually, you mentioned about him being more of an impact sub than someone who starts the game and has impact. And actually, since his injury, I think we've really missed Hansen. I think he gives us that. He stretches the team a little bit more. And Scott Wright. Oh, even more so Scott Wright. I think he's been fantastic. Yeah. But overall, Dad, a controlled performance. Disappointing goal to concede, but ultimately, who cares? We move into the third round of the FA Cup.
It'll be another fixture we'll have to have rearranged as well, because now we'll be playing on the FA Cup weekend in the first week of January.
January,
or second week of January, whenever it is, second week of January. It'll be interesting to see who we get. Just a few sort of observations or comments from me. There's only an attendance of 4,835, and 2,000 of those are Blue-Nosed. Why didn't they give us more tickets?
I don't know.
We could have sold treble that. It's Blackpool as well. I mean, a lot of Blues fans would have gone there for the weekend and spent money in the town. Yeah, but 2,000, you could have trebled that. So we could have had I don't know, we could have sold probably a load more than that. But they gave us 2,000 tickets in the States. So we had nearly as many fans as they did, which is absolutely. Maybe that's why they didn't, because they weren't selling many tickets. But do you know what? I've said this before to teams. They're a League One team. If we're going to pay to go and watch the Blues and we can sell tickets, why not sell them to us? Look at Blackburn. I mean, Blackburn yesterday, or was it the weekend, 7,000 tickets they gave to Leeds.
I know.
Why not? If you 7,000, sort of whatever much X amount, £20-30 a ticket, it's a lot of money. Again, for me, 10 changes. Good to see Brandon Keel, as I mentioned in the starting lineup. I think he's definitely one for us for the future.
Yeah, I agree, actually.
Good to see that, as we've already mentioned, that we got our goals from set pieces. That's something we haven't done enough of as well. Well, I thought was really interesting as well when I looked at the stats. 46% possession we had. 46, that's the lowest we've had. But what it shows us is that, it's all right having 80%, but we had 46% possession, but won the game 2-1. We had 11 shots in total, of which 7 were on target.
Yeah. Much better stats, isn't it?
Those stats are better than 80% possession with 3 shots and 1 on target.
Yeah. That to me just shows we get stuck in a side-to-side cycle, doesn't it? That's why your possession stats are so high.
Yeah, exactly. So it just shows you that we can be effective with less possession, and and maybe that's something that Chris Davies will look at. Not that we give the opposition the ball, but it shows me that we need to be more direct in possession based upon those stats. And to have 7 of your 11 shots on target, I think that's a good ratio. That's the highest we've had all season with B team.
It felt more direct.
Yeah.
As soon as the whistle blew in that first half, we were dominant. We did hold the ball quite well, but we did have a more direct approach. You could feel it. And I felt it against Exeter a little bit as well. It wasn't as aggressive, I don't think, as arguably the first half against Blackpool, but it was there. We were definitely going at them a little bit more direct. And I definitely would sacrifice a bit of possession to at least be a bit more active in front of goal and get more goals and finish these teams off.
I think the stats that showed us that we can have, not actually dominate the possession in the way that we did and still win games really, really well.
Yeah.
Just one final point for me. Who do you want in the third round?
It's a good question, isn't it? I'd love to go Everton away. Goodison Park last time before they go into their new stadium. And I'd love to get Plymouth at home just so we could beat Rooney.
that would be well. Whether Rooney will be there by January, who knows? But I would take any of the big boys away: Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. Not that they're a big boy, but I'd take Villa as well. I'd play Villa, have a local derby, but. A big team for me. I'd like to get, but everybody dreams of a big team, and obviously this is the round now that the championship teams and the. But I think if we get a championship team, it won't be a bad draw. It'll give us a benchmark for where we actually are.
I agree, and that's what I was going to say. I think everyone would like Villa away or at home, Man City, Man United, whatever. But actually, if we're going to be sensible about this, I think a championship team, a decent championship, would be a really good test to see where we are, because I think we'll do better against a championship team than we do arguably against some League One teams, because they won't park the bus. They'll come at us, which will play into our hands a little bit more. And we've played X amount of games this season, 14 in the league, 15 in the league. And what is it, 14 out of 15 teams will just park the bus. So I think a championship team would be a really interesting fixture.
I just hope we don't get Charlton.
We've
already been there a couple of times this season, haven't we? And it's just a awful journey, isn't it, for us in terms of when you get into central London, it's just a nightmare, isn't it? But it is who it is, isn't it? We could get anybody, but the fact is we're in there, and that's good news. And
please don't let us go back to the Valley. I'm done with that place this season. I don't want to go back there again.
Me too. But we'll see. But anyway, well done to the lads. 2-1 into the hat, and as far as I'm aware, no injuries. With most of our second team, I don't think it could have been a better outcome, to be honest.
Agreed. And we move on to our game against Stockport on Wednesday.
Yep.
So, as always, Blues fans, we'd love to hear from you. We really appreciate your thoughts and your opinions, and myself and Dad always get around to your comments. So please let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And Blackpool fans, maybe you've stumbled across this video, maybe you saw our pre-video, please drop us a comment below to let us know what you think as well. And if you like this video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also on Spotify, so you can listen to us over there as well. And don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button, press the bell notification so you get notified whenever we post, and myself and Dad will see you on the next video all about Birmingham City.